Hello everyone, welcome to TPNN, the Profile Netcasting Network, broadcasting from the Profile in beautiful downtown Vancouver. Brought to you by Mr. Taxes. Visit them at mrtaxes.ca. You're listening to The Allan Knight Show, your business communications coach.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Allan Knight Show. As the famous Michael Zahora just said, it's the business communication show. I'm the president of Knight International Network, which is really a center for professional and personal excellence. And one of our expertise is really focusing on communication. As I say every week, communication is the key to so many things, success in business relationships, personal relationships, and you know, I've been in training and coaching for over 20 years, and most companies, most entrepreneurs, individuals that I've met, when I really look at what's holding most people back, it ends up being maybe 80% of the time some aspects of communication. So this show is all about mastering your communication. We very often have a guest, which we have today. I'm very excited. We have a guest who's is an executive coach. She talks about leadership and all kinds of wonderful things, and she's going to talk about the keys to achieving your full potential, the guide toward achieving your full potential, Ms. Karin Wills, and we're going to introduce her in a second. Before, I always like to welcome our great moderator, producer, who does all the work behind the scenes, Mr. Michael Zahora. How are you, sir?
Good. How are you doing, Allan?
Good. I wish you would have told me before what to wear. You told me not to wear. I came with a jacket, and you told me
it's all good.
Is it all good?
It's all good.
By the way, just so that people understand this, why does a striped jacket make a difference on video?
It's just the pattern of the pixels on the camera.
Right.
And what ends up happening is like a really tight pattern will sort of come up as like have diagonal lines on it. It just looks really weird.
So what's the difference between that and the lines I have here?
Because those lines aren't bunched together very closely.
Right. So if someone's going on video, is there a better choice, for example, in colors?
Solid colors.
Solid colors.
That's probably the best advice I can.
And it could be any solid color.
Pretty much. Yeah.
White, black, blue, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. See, these are little tips that we give to
Exactly.
people. It's part of communication. I'm communicating with my shirts and ties and whatever. But we go a little deeper than that, ladies and gentlemen. Things are well, sir?
Very well.
You look at the top of your game?
I feel good.
MikeZahora.com. He is the master of YouTube. Anything to do with video, audio, he is the man. And we really, really appreciate the work he does, because when we arrive 20 minutes before, he's been setting up for, an hour or two?
Yeah, not that long, but it's also MichaelZahora.com.
Why do I make the same mistake as Michael? But we call him Mike.
Or Mike Zahora. They're both online.
They're both online.
Yeah.
MichaelZahora.com is where you can find his website. Before I introduce Karin, I usually have a rant of the week, something about communication. And in the last 2 weeks, I would say that at least 4 or 5 things have come up in the area of communication. I just want to point out how powerful and how important effective communication is to, all aspects of your life, but especially related to business. On 4 or 5 occasions, people that said they were going to get back to me, said they were going to send me something, didn't. Now, this went on more than once. It went on 2 or 3 times. And then at the end of the day, I started feeling feelings. I started to feel like, who am I dealing with? There's a little bit of mistrust. Is this person too scattered? Are they too busy? Do they not care? Is there something wrong? And all that lack of communication caused me to experience a decrease in the amount of trust and confidence I had in these individuals. Now, this happens all the time, so I'm just using my own personal example. Now, what I do, because I'm a communicator, is rather than let it stew in me and get the better of me, I nip it in the bud. So what I do is I get on the phone, I text them, say, can we have a brief chat? And in some cases, after I communicated what I was feeling about it, then when they clarified their situation, I realized that I had some conceptions that were inaccurate. In other cases, they were accurate and they appreciated. We had an interesting conversation, and then we go to the next step and see if the relationship can build from there. But I just want to share with you the importance of effective communication. That means follow-up. That means nipping things in the bud. It means having the courage to communicate what's going on. And I think a lot of people, because of their fear fear of rejection, fear of how people are going to see them. Hold in, try to be the nice guy or the nice girl. What ends up happening is you get the opposite result. I'm sure Karen's going to agree with me when we talk about this. So that's my rant of the day. And my recommendation, ladies and gentlemen, really step up to the plate and communicate with impact. Communicate with authenticity. That doesn't mean you always communicate. There's some situations where you meet someone, say, the last thing in the world I'm going to do is talk to this person because they're just going to overreact. It's not going to go anywhere. So don't take me wrong. I'm not saying always communicate, but when it is appropriate and you feel inside, and you can usually tell when you feel inside, get it off your chest, communicate. And most people, by the way, will appreciate it at the very least. Even if they react or get a little defensive when they go away, they're probably going to have more respect for you having to communicate, if you understand what I'm saying. That's my rant. Is that okay, Mike, as a rant?
It's all good.
I'm starting to feel like Don Cherry.
You need the bigger collars.
Yeah, we're going to get my new suit with I can't believe the shirts he wears. So now, our guest of the day, Karin Wills. Welcome to the show, Karin. And I don't like to go on and on. There's a lot of things that we can do to introduce you. I know you do a lot of executive coaching and leadership training. But what I do with my guests, rather than me list off in a monotonous way, I'm going to ask you to take a few minutes to introduce yourself to the audience. Many of them don't know you, or some do. And tell us a bit about what it is you do, who you help, and a little bit of the uniqueness. And then we'll get into some of the nitty-gritty questions.
Okay, great. So essentially I'm referred to as an executive coach, but what that actually means is I work with the behavioral aspects of how executives go about their job. And so mostly I'm working with executives that know the business end of their job. So they know the technical aspects or how to make the business work, et cetera, et cetera. But where things may be a bit more of a struggle is in the part that's working with the people that are working with them. So it's that interpersonal
communication
type.
again.
Exactly. See, communication is always a very huge thing, and so that aspect of it comes up quite a bit for me. And sometimes it's even so. For example, I might work with an executive that is looking for the next job up, the next promotion, kind of thing, gets turned down for it and doesn't know why. So they'll come and have a chat with me about that. And I listen to their story. And then because I've worked in businesses so often in a position working with executives, I understand somewhat how they think at different stages of the business. And so that helps me help people work through, why didn't I get that promotion that I wanted? So that type of thing.
Fascinating. Last year I gave a talk in Toronto to 50 mid-management people who lost their jobs. And they were looking either to get a new job, or some might have been open to starting their own business. Most of them looking for a job. Okay. What is holding people back? What are the 2 or 3 things holding people back from getting that new job? And also, the second part of the question is, I got the impression that people were saying we are living in much more difficult times now as it relates to finding jobs, because the corporate world is like that and the entrepreneurial world is growing. Could you address that?
I can. So essentially what's happening is businesses are in flux. And so some businesses have moved well into the digital age, and that all by itself changes how we go about our work. Your communications work probably sees a change in that because people have to be more open, be more transparent in terms of how they interact with people, but they also have to understand how to remain in control as an executive or even a project leader in that environment. And there's other businesses that aren't there yet. So they're struggling to even sort of maintain a hold in the business world because they haven't caught up with what technology is doing in terms of the business world. So there are lots of reasons for that we don't need to go into. So when people find themselves out of a job and they're mid-career and wherever they happen to be in a career and struggling about how to find it, what most often happens is understanding cultural fit in an organization. In a recent survey of 1,200 CEOs, 88% of them said that cultural fit and professionalism and well, not communication skills, but interpersonal skills, relationship building skills
Right.
were the three things that they look for over and above your degree or your technical knowledge or your past work experience. So all of those things they expect to see come in, those last three things. But the first three things, all the things to do with how you interact with other people, how you fit into the culture of the organization, those are more important. Those will make the make or break decision at the end of the
Well,
day.
that's fascinating too, but does that mean that things are changing as it relates to the expectation of having formal education? And if that's true, are people wasting their time in university half the time?
No, they're not. They're not wasting their time in university. At the end of the day, having that credential is almost assumed that you're going to have it
Okay.
at some point in time. And that is regardless of whether you go into a trade. So you go
Right.
to a trade school. They want to see that piece of paper
They're
that says
expecting
you
a lot
learned
more.
something.
They're
Yeah.
expecting a lot more.
Exactly. They're expecting something that they didn't necessarily spend
Right.
a lot of time looking for before.
Right. So let's say Joe Blow, Jane Doe hires you, and they're an executive,
Right.
Right, and they need skills to be better leaders. Is that correct? Like,
Yes.
that could happen.
That's often the case, yes.
Okay. Why don't you address this whole point of leadership? There's obviously different styles of leadership.
Right.
So let's say Michael Zahora was a CEO,
Yeah.
and he hired you. What's one of the first things first of all, what would you do when you first meet? Would you do an assessment? And if so, how does that work?
Usually what I do is have a conversation, might last half an hour, 45 minutes, something like that, to get a sense of where they're at and what they think they want. And sometimes what they think they want is, I don't know. That's the answer.
Right.
So I'll ask a series of questions to try to get at sort of why are you talking to me in the first place, to find out, can I help you? Often I will use an assessment. I've been using one for about 6 months now that my clients love, and it's
Right.
based on brain science.
Okay.
So it's really an integration of neuroscience and psychological theory, all the theories, learning theories and psychology theories, like Myers-Briggs, that type of thing that are out there have been integrated into one product now.
Right.
It's amazing as a coach to work with it and as a leadership trainer to work with it because it gives people something really concrete to work on. So it doesn't matter if you work out of the left side of your brain primarily or the right side, or you work out of both equally. It helps you understand fully why you do the things that you do.
So they see what their strengths are and what their weaknesses are.
Absolutely.
What do you do from there?
From there, then we talk about what is it that you want to achieve. So what's not working for you right now? So if they're in the workplace and somebody says, well, the people on my team aren't accountable, I can't get them to meet deadlines or to put quality into their work
Right.
or whatever, we talk about why it is that their team isn't responding to their leadership skills. And when we sort of get to what happens in the communication, I may actually go and talk to some of their staff to find out what their perspective is.
Right.
Sometimes if I think that's necessary. But basically, then I will give them exercises that they will have to go in and do. And before they come back and talk to me, they'll have to have done that.
You mean the leader?
Exactly,
Right.
the leader. So they'll have to go in and have, maybe a meeting or a conversation or something.
Doesn't it put the leader in a funny position if the staff knows that they brought you on to help the leader communicate more effectively? Isn't it a little
Yeah.
kind of strange situation?
It is, and that's why, I don't use one set method. I work entirely with who the person is and what they feel comfortable with. So if they're not comfortable, if they come and say, I don't want my staff to know that I'm here, it makes me feel too vulnerable.
Right.
I'll work with them as much as I can,
Right.
but I will tell them that if they're not, if the challenge that they're having is communication with their staff and getting their staff to respond to how they want them to operate, and they won't admit that they're getting help in what they're doing, it's going to be more challenging for them.
What percent, over the years that you've been doing coaching of this kind, what percent of the major issues are communication skills or lack of?
I'd say 80%.
Ladies and gentlemen, she's just confirming what I've said at the beginning. 80% of the clients she's been working with and I have been working with, the issue is communication. Isn't it fascinating? One of the things I do is I say, when someone comes into my office, I say, if you got up in the morning and you looked at your cell phone and your cell phone was working at 30-40% of capacity, how quickly would you call the phone company to get it solved? Immediately. Do you look in the mirror and say, oh my God, I'm only working at 30-40% of my communication skills, which are necessary in building my business. I got to get help. Karen, help me today. We don't do that. We put those skills on the back burner. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Now, here's the second part of the question. When you identify that these leaders are lacking in certain areas of communication skills, is it more to do with their ability in the content and technique that they're presenting, or the deeper core coming from their inner self?
The deeper core coming from their inner self most of the time.
And that's why I've created an Inner Fitness program. That's why I've done it.
There you
After
go.
years and years and years,
Yeah.
I just to share, and I want to know more about what you do, because we probably complement a lot. I started working in the area of communication, teaching people, entrepreneurs, phone skills, 60-second elevator speech, relationship selling. And people were growing, but something was missing. And then I realized that if you want to get physically fit, you don't read books and go to rah-rah seminars, you get into the gymnasium.
Yeah.
That people were not accepting, respecting, and loving themselves at a high level.
Yes.
And that's why I created a 9-step Inner Fitness system. So I just
Great.
so it just confirms what you said. Yeah. So what happens when you meet Joe Blow, Jane Doe, and you've done the assessment and you understand their leadership style, you share with them what their strengths and weaknesses are. Do they get on a one-to-one program with you? If so, how does that work? Is it a contractual basis? Is it a week-to-week basis? How does that work?
It can go one of several ways. So it can be a one-to-one basis where they say, I want to sign on to a contract for 3 months or 6 months, and then we meet a couple of times a month, and
Right.
they have things that they have to do in between in order to start experiencing the changes that they're going to make. But sometimes people will come and they say, this is an immediate problem I have that I want to solve right now. And if it's something that can be solved in that way, they can buy a package with 2 or 3 coaching sessions and an assessment
Right.
in it. And that's just a nice, neat, tied package. That
Do you
people
ever
can
have
do.
contracts with specific companies for a while, though?
I haven't been working that way myself, but it is something that I'm starting to think about doing more of. I've had some requests from some of my clients that say, I would like you to come in and work with my whole team.
Right.
And that's something that I'm certainly open to. I love working with teams.
Are you in business for yourself, or do you have like strategic alliances and joint ventures that you do as well?
Both. I do my own, but I'm working right now creating some workshops with a person that works in the area. Her business is actually called Out of Chaos, and she helps people get organized and sorted. She has methods and ways of doing that. But one of the challenges that she comes up with is what's happening inside the person.
Right.
They'll say, all of that sounds great, but.
Right.
Well, the work that I do can help work around that but and find something that will work for them. So
See,
we're creating that.
Here's what I'm going to demonstrate to the audience when I talk about setting up joint venture strategic alliances. And anyone that you're speaking with, you never know what's going to come out of it. So, for example, we have never personally met. We talked a bit on the phone, right?
Yeah.
So I would love at some point to get on the phone or have a coffee with you, explore in more depth what you do, share with you more what I do, and see if there's a way we could work together. Because you're in the corporate world. I have a feeling if we got to know each other, a lot of your focus might be a bit different than mine. And therefore, what happens? More and more people that I know get exposed to you. More and more people in you get exposed to us. Sometimes they'll need the combination of the two. Sometimes they'll need what you have. Sometimes people will go through what you do and then need mine.
Yeah.
But so much comes, this is part, ladies and gentlemen, of communication. You know, it's amazing, Karen. People go to these networking events and they think just magic's going to happen. They're going to make a sale, and if they don't make a sale, they get upset. You know?
Yeah, no magic.
When it's all about building relationships.
Yes.
So here, this is the first step toward our building a potential, some kind of relationship, whatever it be, even if it's
Exactly.
getting on each other's database and keeping on each other's newsletter. So
Right.
it's great. When I come back, I'm going to ask you a few more questions before we wrap up.
Okay.
But I just want to remind people that we are here at the Profile Netcasting Network with Allan Knight, Allan Knight Show, your business communication show every Thursday at 3 p.m. PST with the great Mike Zahora, Michael or Mike Zahora, whatever you want to call him. He goes both ways. And he's our producer. And we're all about helping you, providing you with tools, techniques, information, inspiration, whatever we can do to help you to get to the next level of your business communication. If you would like to access my free speaking tips, go to my website at www.allanknight.com, ALLANKNIGHT, Twitter at Night Talk, KNIGHTALK1T, if you want to tweet us, and Allan at allanknight.com if you want to email us as well. We have live events every month. For those of you that are in Vancouver, June 25th, next Tuesday coming up, we have over 100 people at our Walk the Talk live event. It's a training and network. We're going to have it every month, and the goal is to build it right across Canada and North America as well. So look forward to seeing you each week. And each week we attempt to have a great guest, and we have another great guest today, in Karin Wills. I almost said Wills. Karin Wills, who's, what do you call yourself, an executive coach?
I do.
An executive coach.
An executive coach.
Okay, so let's say you came to me and I said, Karin, what you do? I know what you do now, and I said, who is your ideal client? I know that you could help a lot of people, and I know you could help a lot of companies. But if you were to hone into a very specific target audience, who would you say they are?
I would say it's people that they're emerging leaders. So in other words, they might not be in a leadership position right now, or they may be in one right now, but they want to expand the skills that they have. They want to be able to grow them in a way that really works for them. So really, people that are in that position where they're already open to learning and to trying new things and to experiencing new things. That's my ideal client.
Is your ideal client a leader that's in an existing company or corporation, or somebody who wants to become a leader, or both?
Both.
Both.
Both, absolutely.
So you're all about really leadership training.
I really am, yeah.
You're really. And do you have a strong background in leadership throughout your life?
I do. I've often been in leadership roles myself, and when I worked in corporations, I did my grad work in leadership, so that was pretty intensive work in that, and I really stay in touch with what's happening in leadership.
Just for fun, this is all hypothetical. So if you were to imagine that we had access to every corporate company in North America, let's say there was 100,000 companies.
Right.
And you were to make a guess, how many of those 100,000 companies have leadership which is so powerful, so effective, so inspiring, so dynamic? What percent would you say?
30.
That's higher than I thought you were going to say. That's pretty good.
I'd say 30.
But that leaves 70%.
That could be, though, because I stay on top of what's happening in leadership in organizations. I'm more aware of the ones that really are doing dynamic work.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what's fascinating is I'm always, everywhere I go, whether it's a restaurant, an office, a store, I'm always aware of the customer service.
Right.
I'm always aware of the energy of the people, the warmth of the people, the listening skills of the people.
Yeah.
And if you asked me, what company has blown me away? There's only one.
Which one?
Apple.
See, I could have guessed that you were going to say that.
And I go in the store at least once a month. I haven't had one experience that was negative.
Uh-huh.
Every person that I've encountered has been warm, friendly, listening skills were good. They showed caring. They were efficient. Somebody like Steve Jobs or somebody did something right at the top. But why is it that so few companies are like that?
It takes determination and it takes work. So one of the things that Steve Jobs was famous for saying was stay focused. Don't get distracted by a whole bunch of other things. And so not only did he stay focused, but he trusted people that he should trust to put his retail operation in play. And that is something that very few companies do. They rarely put the right people in and then get out of their way and let them do it. So that's part of it. But I can tell you that there's two other businesses, both Canadian businesses, that are also starting to show amazing signs of that too. And one is TD Bank and one is TELUS. And there's a reason for that, because both of them brought leadership into their company from outside, got out of their way, and they've let them make big change arounds. In companies that huge, that kind of change would normally take at least a decade. they've done it 3 to 4 years.
Do you think that that's going to start a new trend?
Yes,
The companies are going to have to
absolutely.
follow suit.
Yes,
Which is good for people like you and I who are in coaching.
absolutely. Yeah. It's great.
Last question before we wrap up is, I know that there are a lot of coaches out there.
Right.
And one of the things that I noticed, and I'm not locked into this, if somebody comes to see me and I see that they don't need me, they want a marketing plan and a business plan, I'm going to send them somewhere else.
Right.
But I often see coaches, almost all coaches say, well, yeah, my program's the best. Take my
Yeah,
coach.
yeah, sure.
How do the audience out there, if they're looking for coaching, what kind of advice could you give them to help them make a thoughtful decision if that particular coach is for them?
Okay, so the first thing I would do is decide what it is that you want to achieve. So what's not working for you that you want to get to work? Or what is it that you think is just out of reach for you?
Right.
So that two things. Decide clearly what those are. Then try to run Google searches, talk to other people, whatever it is that you can do to find coaches, look at their bios, look at their website, whatever it is, narrow it down to 2 or 3 people, and then contact them and have a half-hour conversation with them. If you can connect with them in that half hour, and they're talking about what it is that you want to talk about, then that's the right coach for you.
This has been wonderful. Karin, thank you so much. We'll have to
Thank
have
you
you on
so
again
much.
because we can go on for hours.
We could, couldn't we?
How do people get in touch with you again?
They can go to my website. It's www.evolveexecutivecoaching, all one word, .com. They can email me at karen.wills at gmail.com. I want to say .net, which is my TELUS email. Or they can phone me at 604-789-9317.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Before we wrap up, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. We got a lot out of today. Remember, my programs are called Walk the Talk Training. There's a lot of conversation. There's a lot of theory. My question at the end is, what are you going to do with it? Just a little suggestion this week. Why don't you make a commitment this week that there's going to be one thing that you do, could be personal or professional, that's going to enhance your life. And you make one thing that you eliminate that is sabotaging your life. It could be that you want to stop smoking. It could be that you want to start exercising. Whatever it be. But don't overwhelm yourself. Just take one thing that you're going to add in this week, one thing that you're going to eliminate. Once you've done that, at the end of the week, your life will be a little further ahead. Then the next week, you do the same. That's my little walk the talk tip of the day. Thank you to Karin. Thank you to the great Mike Zahora. We hope all of you enjoyed the show. We look forward to the next week. We always look forward to each week. And be successful, and most importantly, be content and happy and be very grateful. Have a great week. Take care.